Good afternoon, traders. Joseph here from Eightcap. Welcome to this week's weekly wrap. So far this week, we've seen mainly a better week for the safe havens and the risk currencies. And we'll get to cryptos in a minute. But we can see the dollar here, and we can see the week it's had so far. It's a very firm week, and it's continued to push on. And it looks like a pretty solid trend right now. So some of this has been really centered around the debt ceiling in the US. Now, it's not resolved yet, but there are more positive steps as they approach the June deadline, and it's going to be some to and fro, and there'll probably be some more volatility, but obviously we all believe that this deal will be done and there won't be a default. So it's not like this hasn't happened before. It has happened. So we'll continue to watch it. Keep your eyes out continually for some volatility, but the deal obviously will get done, and but there will just have to be some probably last minute negotiations between the Republicans and the Democrats as to what gets sort of agreed to get it through. So if we just have a look at some of the markets, risk currencies are trading a bit higher today, but we can see some of the losses this week on the Aussie. The Aussie had a really bad week in terms of its performance to the yen and the USD, and we can see here the selling was pretty heavy across both. The yen was pretty mixed this week. We did see a bit of some markets moving higher towards, like for instance the euro here was a bit choppy midweek, but we did see some gains, and not really anything really decisive, but we did see a bit of a buck of the trend. We were watching the pound yesterday. We're wondering if we could get a bit of a push higher. It did break this high once again and closed above this high, but it's pretty wishy-washy, and as you can see here, there's a lot of indecision whether it's being blocked from going down or blocked from going up. So even though it is moving up, it's really more of a range at the moment. There's not much direction really there, and today it's trading a slightly lower. The JPN 225 did have a pretty spectacular fall. It did pull a bit back, but it's all been centered around, I think it's some pretty heavy profit taking here, and had a really strong comeback yesterday. So we'll continue to watch to see if we can get back up and test this area. The stock indices, so the ASX didn't have one of its best weeks. We did mention, I think it was in a tweet, about a bit of a pattern here, and it did break through that pattern. It did even break this low. It put in new monthly lows as well, but for now it's sort of stabilizing, but it's sort of is in a position where it does look a bit weak and vulnerable at the moment. And I think that if there is some positive news coming out on the debt ceiling, maybe you'll see some more buying come back into the market with a bit of stability. The US 30, sorry, it's always itchy when the camera's on. I got no idea why. I won't itch my nose all day, but as soon as you start a video, it will start to annoy you. So the US 30, we saw a decent breakthrough this point here. Before a bit of a low was put in, we saw a bit of recovery yesterday. Now, US stocks indexes weren't all going down. We will just look at one more that did have a bit of a thumping this week. So you can see here the Russell, or the small caps 2000, we saw it tested and broke these highs, and then things changed very quickly as traders moved out of the market very sharply, as we saw a few hiccups with some of with the debt ceiling talks during the week, and that resulted in some pretty heavy selling for 2 sessions. But on the other side of the scale, if we have a look at tech stocks, we can see that the NDX 100 has had a few trials this week. It hasn't all been plain sailing. We did have a move down that was, just over that 2.5% point, but that was quickly recovered, and the market actually put in a new high for the week, and a new high for the month, and a new high for the year. So it's been a pretty mixed week for US indexes. I think it comes down to which ones are being more have a bit more, not, I won't say influence, but exposure and sensitivity to the talks at the moment. We'll get onto the meeting minutes and the news in a second, but we thought we'd run over a few moves. Now, oil, we're doing a report on oil at the moment. We really are asking a question about this pattern we're seeing here. It's an ascending triangle, but we are seeing a bit of a test at that point. It sort of grinded up this week, and we had this big move down yesterday, so we are starting to wonder if there's a momentum shift. It came off at the roof there, and there's plenty of resistance at that 74, just above 74, and we're wondering if support here is going to be able to hold for buyers at 71.53, and we'll be looking to see if there's any lower highs tonight, followed up by a new low. And if we do get that, we'll probably be looking for a downside breakout out of this pattern. If the market can hold its support and stabilize, and we'd see some new rallies or maybe even a higher low and a new move back to resistance. If we do see a break at that point, we'd be looking for maybe the buying to continue, and that hopefully would see a test of 76.60 and maybe even a test of 78.89. So we'll get on to crypto in a minute. We'll just run over a few things that came out this week. Flash data came out. It was mixed as you'd expect. The German data came in on positive on the services, but weaker on the manufacturing. The German economy has actually slipped into a technical recession this week. The French data was flat and was lower than expected, and we saw the US and the UK data, came in lower than expected, and the US was mixed with services high but manufacturing lower. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand increased rates as expected to 5.50%, and we saw British CPI come in at 8.7%, so that's quite a touch of good news there, because it's been above 10% for a very long time. And if we have a look at the pound here, it definitely added to that pressure with a higher US dollar, and with that move through this support here at 1.2390, and we saw a pretty decent move down for 2 days after that. So with that CPI drop, the question now will be on the Bank of England is, do they pause on rates, or do they continue going to sort of maximize this decrease they're seeing in the CPI to try and get prices back down to a level they're comfortable with? It will be interesting to see their next step, but obviously 8.7, while it's a good figure, it's still not, a great figure in terms of an inflation, but it's definitely moving in the right direction in the UK. And the minutes came out, and the Fed basically said that they might be starting to think that rates may... Well, basically, they're thinking that rates have sort of hit a certain point. This also includes the banking issues that they're having, and a lot of speculation now is starting to mount that we could see maybe a hold, but the Fed is saying they're still prepared to raise rates to get inflation down, and they're still looking at data that's coming in. So the PCE price index is coming in today at 10:30 Australian Eastern Time, and that is another piece of the puzzle, and then we'll have a look at next week as well. So it's still, the message is still the same. They're sort of starting to become a bit more less worried about where things are at, but they're still data dependent, and there is speculation now that we will see a rate pause in June from the Fed. So staying with the US, prelim GDP came out as well. It was slightly higher at 1.3%. Unemployment claims came in lower at 229K, and the final piece of data this week, as just discussed, is the core PCE price index. They're looking for 0.3%. And if we just go over to next week, we'll have a look at some of the keys coming out. There's banking holidays for for Swiss, the UK, for France and Germany, and also for the US, they have Memorial Day as well on Monday. So moving through the week, the CB consumer confidence, Australian CPI, that would be an interesting one as well, and the German prelim CPI as well on Wednesday, plus Canadian GDP on Wednesday. And then we have the JOLTS jobs opening for the US on Thursday. And to cap off the week, it's the US employment data. It starts with the ADP non-farm employment change. Thursday's unemployment claims and the ISM manufacturing PMI. And then we finish the week with average earnings, non-farm employment, and the US unemployment rate. So that's definitely another piece in the data requirement from the Fed. So depending that if that data does come in, so basically not as hot or lower than expected, that could start to put pressure on the dollar. Obviously by then as well, that will be the June the 2nd. So on Thursday as well, June the 1st, there should be a bit of attention put on the US debt ceiling, and if there is an agreement by June the 1st or by May 31st, so there should still be a bit of there'll still be a fair bit of attention put onto the debt ceiling and how that's going as well, progressing through next week. So there should be plenty of things coming out next week. Some cryptos at the moment, we'll just have a quick look at them. The things that continue to grind. We did see a break lower yesterday on Bitcoin. It did get pulled back from buyers. There is some support here at 26,376, so keep a watch on that one. And Ethereum as well remains range bound. There's some pretty decent support set up now at 1786. So it does start to look like there's a bit of to and fro going on in those markets, and possibility there that they are looking for some sort of guidance. And could it be from the debt ceiling agreement? It could possibly. But also the dollar isn't helping cryptos at the moment. It could be impacting that. And but one crypto today that is having a pretty solid day is Ripple, and we can just see here after that move lower yesterday, Ripple is trading close to 3% higher today. But as we've seen previously, we have this resistance here at 0.46 that will have to be beaten by buyers. It has been tested today so far, and then the next real key point of resistance will be up at that 0.475, which will need to be tested and beaten to sort of get this trend back on track. But with that higher low here, it does look, and another one here as well, it does look pretty positive, and there is a pretty decent little trend break here now as well. So Ripple continues to keep pushing on the back of the SEC court case they have at the moment. It remains a pretty big factor, and judgment date has been pushed out, but we'll see. If it was probably set to be in June, so we'll see if any more movement comes on that. But if it is in favor of Ripple, you'll know exactly what's going on, because the price should jump pretty substantially if they do get a win in that case. So just touching on some of the things next week, obviously the dollar index, the keys there will be if this rally is going to continue to go. It's pretty mature now on the daily, so don't be surprised if we did see some profit taking and a pullback. This is just sort of we do need to see a higher low set up here just to show that there's a healthy trend. So if we did see a pullback, look for higher lows and high breaks to sort of signal that the trend's going to continue. Risk currencies, wouldn't be really looking at the Aussie in any way at the moment, but we do wonder if we do see the dollar retreat, if we will see some recoveries in the euro and the pound, and if we also will see the yen as well, if it does return to dropping negatively as it has been, if we will see some further moves higher on some of those pairs to the yen. And the US 30, for instance, is not in a good place right now. I think attention definitely should be on the NDX at the moment. It looks to be weathering external influences much better at the moment, and we are curious now is if it is set to take another push higher. It's trading above these highs. I think the next real target could be this resistance point up here at 14,203. So if something positive does come along for stocks, will that give the Nasdaq a bit of a push, and could we see another leg higher to sort of test this resistance area here? The SP, which does have a bit of a tech component as well, it's not doing as great as the Nasdaq, but it's on a middle ground between the Dow and the Nasdaq. So if we did get some sort of momentum going upwards for buyers, there's a lot of demand down here so far. So if something did start to turn around, will we get a new test of 4205? So I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for your time. Do remember, the non-farm payrolls and the debt ceiling talks as they come to that end point next week, and we'll see if we do get an agreement and if that's going to have a positive influence on stocks or not, depending on the details of that. So again, thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Please feel free to give us a like or subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And until next week, we have all the best with your trading, and thanks and bye for now.